Hey peeps, it's Tripl-L, and now let's talk about Little Witch Academia, episode 7. I have not talked about this series since the first episode, but now the series has progressed. We're at 7 episodes, and now I have a pretty good idea of where I should set my expectations for this series, and I'm actually pretty excited to talk about it, because you see, Little Witch Academia, it inspires some really interesting feelings in me. Like, this is probably the show that I like quite a bit, but it annoys the living daylights out of me. Man, I cannot describe the frustration that I feel when I'm watching this show. Oh man, it is bad. I spend hours just ranting in my head about this show. But don't worry, it's all in good ways. I rant in good ways about this show because I think that the things that are annoying me are supposed to annoy me. I think that is a conscious story choice when it comes to Little Witch Academia. So I just want you guys to know that, because in case I get a bit spirited in this, it's gonna be because I have some pretty passionate feelings about some of the shenanigans that go down in this TV show. So episode 7. You know, actually, let's preface this a bit more. I want to make it clear. I overall enjoy Little Witch Academia, and I very much love the misfit characters. That's Akko and her group, and Diana. I love that whole group of characters. The misfits make this show for me. Constance in particular makes the show for me, and Akko as well. So, episode 7. Let's get into episode 7. This was a largely character development continuing episode, and I'm happy to see that was maintained. I'm happy to see that we got Akko actually sticking to what we saw in the last episode, where we saw that Chariot was also in a pretty bad situation, but she worked through it. And seeing that Akko is trying to do that makes me really, really happy. So far, Akko's worst showings have been during the Dragon episode and during the first episode. That have been her worst showings in my particular opinion. But with this episode, I'm just happy to see that she is putting in an effort, that she has realized some things about the whole witch world and just how to go about doing things. Man, I'm so excited to rant about things, but I need to talk about the good parts first. Okay, so Akko, overall the episode is just showing her trials going through school, you know, just trying to get those exams done. She's getting a lot of C minuses, she gets a D, and then finally the episode culminates in Akko doing something that really only Akko could, in that she almost kills her teacher, but she does go and try to make it better. And in the process, she does show, I guess, good qualities. Like, honestly, once those 3 kids had gone into the water, I knew, oh, the initial exam was about interacting with other species and the philosophy of altruism. And seeing once the little fish that was lost got involved, I was like, oh, there's going to be a situation that's going to arise here where Akko's going to get to put this into practice and is going to be a good person and help out, and it's going to get her the A. And you know, that's what we ended up getting. That's not a problem. If it's predictable, it's not a problem. The thing is, after 7 episodes of Little Witch Academia, this is a very lighthearted show that actually I only have one major gripe with, only because the gripe I have is the whole main plot point, or the whole, there's a word for this. Oh, conflict. The main conflict. But I'll put that aside. Overall, Little Witch Academia, I think, is a show that you come in and you just sit down to have fun. Although when it does certain things, it makes you wonder if this is the deeper kind of theme that it's trying to show us. Anyway, this worked out for Akko, and it was adorable to see her getting her victory in the end. Now, let's talk about what I find utterly disgusting. And you guys can't see me, but I have a giant smile on my face as I am talking about this, because this is something I've had on my mind for months. Not months, that's a lie, that's episodes, weeks. Okay, look, I am so sure that, how do I say this? The teachers at the Little Witch Academia are by far, from what I've seen, are the antagonists for this show. They're minor antagonists, maybe they're like Team Rocket level antagonists, but man, they are antagonists because they are just utterly disgusting to watch. And you know, disgusting might be a big word, but when you look at the shenanigans that are going on with teachers, and when you consider things like the dragon and them being a debt, like, yeah, serves them right, man. They are just so deluded in their ways. But ultimately, that's good, because I do think the show is trying to make that as the underlying point. Now, actually talking about the teachers, because the shit that they pulled in this particular episode is really just disgusting. Let's talk about the whole expulsion thing, because that scene in particular is the epitome of the problem that is plaguing Little Witch Academia in terms of its plot. Let's just really quickly make sure we understand what happened, what was going to go down, what might have gone down. There was a teacher who was lobbying for Akko's expulsion. And that's whatever, you know, they're saying that Akko doesn't respect the ways of the witch, Akko doesn't care for anything, you know, she just is a disgrace to witch and all that kind of stuff. And then when you take a second to remember what position that academy is in, you will note that Akko is one of the first people who came in under our new policy. Akko is a person who does not have any kind of witch ties. She just saw the brochure and she came in under the initiative that Luna Nova needed more money, so they started bringing in students from the normal world so that they could pay their tuition, they could get a bigger revenue source, and try to see if the school could be saved. Akko is there as a result of Luna Nova being poor and having to change its ways. She is there as that result. So when you have a teacher going in there and saying that Akko is a disgrace to witch kind and that she's just not doing things right, that is fundamentally flawed, and it's despicable on the side of the teachers, because it's their responsibility to make sure the girl who's never had a touch of witch magic outside of Chariot in her life knows what she's doing. So what you ultimately end up getting here, if that expulsion went through, is that this girl paid money to go into this school that needed her money, and then they're just tossing her out when they get confirmation that she is not a witch. Because one thing that we have seen in this show is, and this is something that we're reminded of pretty often, is that almost every other witch student here that we know of knows how to do magic. Even in this episode, Lot said something really important. She's been using spirit magic since the very beginning. That's why she's so good at it. And the show made a really good point as showing that she stood up to Diana when it came to grades on what she was able to do in her particular segment of the exam. Every witch in there is fundamentally more experienced at the basics and the basic understanding of anything that has to do with witchery than Akko is. And that is fundamentally unfair. Those teachers are not doing anything good for Akko in all of this. And this point is kind of echoed in Ursula when she goes in on the teacher who was about to try to expel Akko. She tells her that you should not be comparing Akko to any of the other students, especially, again, because you have to consider this girl is not like the other students. She is an exception to the rule because of the things that they had to do to bring in new money. Although even with Ursula defending her, Ursula is still pretty guilty of falling under the bumbling antagonist role. And I'll talk about that with the rest of the episode. But continuing on with that pinnacle moment at the end, when Akko gets the commendation from the environment department, that moment was really important because it again reflected an aspect that's going on in Little Witch Academia, and that is that magic doesn't have a place in the world. And that is a concept that we are constantly being reminded of in this show. We were reminded of it with Lot in this episode again when she said that people are starting to question why they still use magic. And man, that whole plot point about magic falling apart or just not being that important anymore is by far the weakest part of Little Witch Academia. But I will save that for another time if anyone wants to hear why I think that. Regardless, when the environment department comes in and is actually thanking Akko for her involvement in protecting an endangered species, that was the best moment I could have ever have asked for, because that's the moment that shows that the way that the teachers at that school are doing things isn't the way that's going to lead them to success. And this is a problem that is plaguing that academy in particular. The teachers are way too set in their ways to actually be of any help to anyone because of the way they want to be. They want to just portray this image of the image of the witches, and they just want to kind of like pull away from society, even though they need society in order to survive. They're just too stuck in their ways, they're stubborn, and they don't want to move on from it. And that is disgusting. They do not work as educators. They suck as educators. Them not being able to understand that Akko might need special attention is the fundamental proof of that. And Ursula, man, she is one of the nicer characters in this, but she's also falling into this trap because she doesn't know what she's doing either to some degree when it comes to Akko. And we see that from the lack of supervision that she generally gives Akko. But anyway, Akko getting the commendation and pretty much them realizing like just being helpful in society is a good thing. Like screw the image. I love that moment because it is, I think, the end game for this show, showing that there's a new way for witches to integrate with society under the premise that magic is dying out. And to just reinforce the idea that these witch teachers suck at teaching. When you have this episode and you look at the grading criteria for what some of these witches said to some of the students, you could really tell this is not like any kind of proper level of learning. This is not a prestigious academy. This is pretty shitty. Because you have Constance, she gets graded down because the witch just didn't think that her particular thing was useful. Are you being graded on usefulness? No, I think you're supposed to be graded on the complexity of the thing that you're doing. But no, there's personal bias going into that. And then you also have it happening earlier on with, oh man, I forget her name, the one that eats a lot. And she's getting graded down because she's just eating something. It has nothing to do with the actual fundamentals of the magic that's going on. It's just she's eating something. Man, look, if people got graded down for taking food into exams, we'd be in a very, very sorry state as students. Anyway, those two moments in this particular episode reinforce the overall theme that the problem at Luna Nova are the teachers. And that is by far the overall theme that I'm getting from this first half of Little Witch Academia. It's the teachers. The teachers are not helping anyone. Let's face it, Diana is more competent than the teachers, and that's because she most likely largely studied on her own. When you have a dragon making a gamble on whether or not he's going to get caught, and he's gambling against the teacher's stupidity and general inability to do anything against him, you know it's a pretty bad situation. The teachers are stuck in their ways, they're stuck in traditions, and this is something that also popped up in the original OVAs for Little Witch Academia. The traditions that the teachers are following are what's ultimately killing their school, and I very much enjoy it when I see those teachers get the moment that just pretty much shows them that they suck and that they're pretty much wrong about everything going on in the world. Man, the teachers, they are so annoying. And it's really unfortunate too, because Akko is not in a good situation when it comes to the academics. I see that at Luna Nova, it seems to be largely hands-off learning. I mean, really thinking about it, how did a kid get into a course that she did not have the prerequisite for? That's bad management on a fundamental level. And so when you have that kind of thing coming in, you know, it really just does remind you, or just reinforces the idea that this school as a school fundamentally sucks. It is not a good school. No wonder it's losing money. No wonder it had to pull in new tactics to bring in students. No, man. Those teachers, man. Oh, I've got a special place in my heart for them. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much my thoughts on the episode. I really took this opportunity to just pretty much rail on the teachers because they suck. I really do think the vast majority suck. You know, suck might be a really strong word. No. They're just too set in their ways. They're ignorant and they're arrogant, and they're just not doing anything to actually help the students that they need to be helping. And I get it. You know, you could say, well, this is a learning experience for the teachers as well. Yeah, but these people are set in their ways. We don't know how old they are, but from the way that they enforce things in the school and from the way they carry on, and even in the example of Ursula, they just don't know what they're supposed to do here, and they keep reinforcing bad habits, I think. Anyway, this episode gave us the character development for Akko. It sets up more, or it's pointing to these themes of the inability or the just general incompetence of the teachers when it comes to teaching kids. And I want to see this theme get further explored, because this is a big issue when we go back into the idea that magic isn't really helping society anymore. And those two themes are going to intersect, and I really hope that Little Witch Academia goes into that route, because, you know, by the second season of most Trigger series, things get a bit more in-depth with the themes that they're pursuing. So I'd very much love to see where we go if this theme gets pursued to the degree I think it should be. One interesting thing here is that good old Diana did pull some horoscope stuff, and she says that Akko might be departing Luna Nova. I imagine that's happening like right at the middle of the series. I think that would make sense, that Akko has to go and do something important and ultimately save Luna Nova. I think that will be where we're going in the end game of this particular series. Anyway, guys, I'm going to be doing this show for the next couple of weeks because, man, I have so much things I want to talk about. Mostly just continue ragging on the teachers because I'm pretty sure they're going to give me more opportunities to point out how incompetent they are. So I want to get more of those moments in. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. Let me know if this was a bit too ranty for your taste, and then I'll dial it back. I'll leave that for its like specific videos. But anyway, thanks for watching. Let's hope that Akko gets through the rest of her school year without a problem. Till next time, I hope you have a great day. Man, those freaking teachers, I don't like them. You know, they're not teachers actually, they're lecturers. That's what they are. No wonder they're so bad at teaching. Lecturers never teach, they just talk at you.